Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. In our first story, the OP took the advice of his grandfather, who always said if you encounter someone that angry, just shut up and let them run down. And guess what? It came in handy for him. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Getting yelled at by an old lady. I must have a face made for retail because people often walk up to me in stores and ask for help, even when I'm wearing clothes that should make it obvious that I'm not an employee. Some years ago, it was even worse. I worked for a company that used a gold polo shirt with black trim as part of the uniform. Everywhere I went, people thought I was an assistant manager. Most of it was harmless questions. Do you still have this item in stock? Where are your cigarettes? Etc. I'd be elbows deep in the middle of taking something apart with tools scattered all around me or on a ladder with my head up above the ceiling tiles, and people would just assume I worked there. What surprised me was how condescending, demanding, and rude some people are. When someone was especially rude, I'd play along with them for a moment before pointing out that I wasn't an employee, just to embarrass them a bit. The worst was some little old lady who looked like she hadn't cracked a smile since the Eisenhower administration was in power. I'd made some repairs to equipment on site at a Kmart and was waiting by the customer service/return desk for the manager to sign off. This old bat walks in, looks at the busy return desk and the long line, then at me standing there holding a clipboard, and starts heading my way with purpose. As she got closer, I started to head her off by telling her I didn't work there, but I didn't get more than the first word or two out before she yells at me to "Shut up, Sonny, and listen to me for a minute." To this day, I'm not sure if I shut up because she told me to, or if my mouth stopped working due to the shock of someone using the word Sonny outside of a sitcom. She begins ranting about her last trip to Kmart. She detailed perceived slights and errors in bagging her purchases that she apparently viewed as atrocities. When she wound down for just a second, I recovered enough to try to tell her once more that I was not an employee. She shrieked at me louder to shut up, so I shut up and let her go a bit longer. The third time I tried to say something, she actually tried to put her withered hand over my mouth. I fended her off by holding my clipboard in front of my face like a shield until she stopped. At this point, something my grandpa told me popped into my head. He always said if you encounter someone that angry, just shut up and let them run down. They aren't going to hear anything you say anyway, and trying to defend yourself only makes things worse. Best of all, if you calmly stand there and let them rant, they'll usually make a fool of themselves in front of everyone. He was a smart man. I just stood there looking at her until she finally wound down. There was an awkward pause. Old bat. Well? Me. Well, what? Old bat. Aren't you going to help me? Me. No, I don't even interrupted. Old bat. Then what do you suggest I do then? Said with extra vitriol and a side order of pure hate. Me. Finally losing my cool and getting a bit loud. If you want my opinion, I go talk to someone who works here. It was at this moment that three things happened. She finally shut up. I realized how quiet it was. Then someone laughed. When I glanced back to the service desk, 4 employees and all the customers there, as well as other people shopping near there, had stopped everything to stare. When I looked back, the old girl was staring at the logo on my shirt, and for the first time realizing it said something other than Kmart. She opened her mouth a time or two without saying anything, then pivoted neatly and went straight back out the front door. I wish I could say I planned to set her up, but she did that all by herself. And our second story. Surly, stingy Subway store. So I'm on jury duty for the 3rd time in 10 years, and I'm not a happy citizen. The jury room is overcrowded, it's a 90-plus degree day outside, the AC isn't working well, and too many of my fellow citizens in the jury room haven't grasped that whole personal hygiene thing. In other words, I'm cranky for a lot of reasons. At that time in my county, jury duty was for 2 weeks. This was day 3. The only place for a somewhat reasonably priced, within walking distance, we can go for lunch is a Subway sandwich store. When we break for lunch, all 100-plus jurors and seemingly everyone else in the courthouse heads to this one place. The service just sucks. They know they're the only game in town, so they don't have to be nice, quick, or reasonable in the quantity of meats and condiments they put on your sandwich. Everyone seems to be asking for a little more lettuce, a few more onions, pickles, whatever. I happen to like tuna a lot. This is what I ordered the first 2 days. Both sandwiches came with the smallest amount of tuna I'd ever seen and with skimpy condiments. The second day, while the guy was assembling my sandwich, I asked for more than the 6 anemic strands of lettuce. He glared at me and added 6 more. Rather than hold up the line and being slightly intimidated, I just let it go. Then when ringing me up, he gives me a nasty smirk and tells me to enjoy all that extra lettuce. I was really taken aback. The guy seriously leered at me like some kind of psychopath. I paused with my credit card in hand and decided I didn't want this mongrel to see my name, have my CC, etc., so instead I pulled out cash. He actually seemed surprised, like I'd read his mind or something. I left there truly shaken. The rest of the day and that night, the more I thought about it, the more pissed I got. The next day I went there again. Same guy, noted the recognition in his face when he saw me. I have very long, curly red hair, green eyes, and people often remember me. Repeat the whole exchange, including giving him cash. But this time, the whole time I'm smiling. He's getting more surly by the second. Back in the jury room, I struck up a conversation with a couple of others. We all went to Subway, all commented on the stingy quantities and the surly people, that guy in particular. The next day, I took my revenge. Same guy, he recognized me, got this really weird glint in his eye. 2 of those with whom I spoke are in line behind me, one of whom leans over to me and asks if I killed this guy's cat the way he's glaring at me. I answered, just wait. I ordered tuna. He puts on 2 tiny scoops. I say I want double meat. Yes, I know, the upcharge. He puts a half scoop more on and starts to move towards the condiments. I stop him and say, no, I want double meat. He says that is double. Now this line is stopped. I say no, regular is 2 scoops, double is 4. You added 1/2 of one. Now add 1.5 more. Now he's practically snarling at me as he slams 2 more scoops on the bread, now lettuce, 6 strings. I just smile and say, no more. He carefully picks out 2 more. I smile and say, no, a whole lot more, like every other Subway in the country does. He literally has a vein popping on his forehead by now, and he yells at me, you don't tell me how much to use. That brought dead silence to the place, and the guy looks like he's going to leap the counter and attack me. Remember, this is walking distance from a courthouse. The place is filled with cops and lawyers. I just smile sweetly and say, yes, I do. That's the whole point here. I tell you which and how much of each ingredient I want, and then you're going to charge me for double meat. So what's the problem with the lettuce? So he takes a fistful, literally smashes it onto the sandwich, making the tuna squirt all over the paper. Then he smashes it some more as he rolls it up like he's kneading bread and slams the whole thing down next to the register, staring daggers at me the whole time. So I move down towards the register, order a drink and some chips from the shaking cashier. She starts to ring it up, and I stop her. Loudly, I say, I don't want that sandwich, just the drink and chips. She's shocked, but anger man just explodes. You ordered that! You're gonna buy it and eat it! Then he really loses it and says, B, you effing pay for that and eat it! I'll have you arrested for stealing! Now, 2 of the cops in the place have moved up, one next to me, one behind me. I look at the cop next to me and smile, and he just barely perceptibly shakes his head, no, but doesn't take his eyes off the guy. As I'm leaving, I got several smiles, a couple thumbs up, and about 6 or 7 people who also turned around and followed me out. All while the guy is ranting and screaming. More cops are now up at the counter, and I'm smiling hard. This last spring, I got called to jury duty again. The Subway shop's no longer there. Yeah, he has a crappy job that he probably hates, but he can still take some pride in trying to be a cool sandwich artist instead of a jerk. And our last story. I fought to reclaim my house from my ex. I, 32-year-old male, recently divorced my ex, 33-year-old female, because she cheated. Despite having a solid marriage contract about property and finances, the court outright ignored it and awarded my family home to my ex. It's a 5-bedroom house, and I lived and maintained that I had modified for my then stepdaughter who has a walking disability. Sure, I can afford to buy and build a house if I so desired, but I got that house from my father, who got it from his father. My parents are not alive, and I'm an only child, so the house holds a sentimental value. Well, I lawyered up, fought in the Superior Court, and won. Now X and her daughter have to leave because they can't afford the legal fees, and I'm not willing to go into any settlement right now that I know the kind of person I was up against. Problem is, my friends, extended family, and people who know about our family situation. They're calling me the bad guy for putting them in a bad situation. Yes, our country does suck in making places accessible, and my house was the one comfortable place she could be at. I could give that house and make a new one or buy one, but because of the sentimental value attached to the house, I was unwilling. They doubled down that I offered no financial assistance to my spouse out of obligation for being a man. They're all giving moral arguments instead of legal ones, and I, for one, do not see myself at fault. The ex is uploading videos of her daughter on how terrible a place she has to live in now that I stole my house. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.